And I want to go back to the disadvantage. I feel like one of my biggest disadvantage of being okay looking, or what should we say, easy on the eyes, easy on the eyes, and being young, trying to find mentors. There were mentors that were brilliant men, and I was like, I need to learn from them. I need to get everything that I can from them, but they would not step foot like in arm's reach of me. They would not mentor me. And one person actually told me they would not mentor me because I'm a woman. And I was like, well, what does that have to do with anything? And he said, because I don't want people to think the wrong thing about me and you being together, like in a room or in a meeting or whatever. And I'm just like, how am I being disadvantaged in this situation? You know?
Right, you were.
And so to me, that I felt that a lot with other men that I wanted to be mentored by. I felt that kind of like arm's length from them, where I wasn't invited to go golfing. I wasn't invited to go play tennis. I wasn't invited, obviously, to go smoke cigars, but but I had missed out on those opportunities, which were mentor opportunities, and I couldn't get that valuable access to information because I was a woman that was easy on them.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. But I think definitely with being pretty, it's not necessarily a disadvantage, but it definitely creates more work for you because you have more to prove.
Oh my gosh, 100% more to prove. I remember even a gentleman that needed my services, but he would not ask for the services and I offered my services to them, but then later to find out that he had felt like an attraction to me. And I'm like, well, what does that attraction have to do with work? Like, hold your horses over there, buddy. Let's do some business together. So it's actually prevented some business for me and money towards my family, towards my kids, because I was a woman and somebody felt attracted to me and they didn't want to be in that space. I seriously feel like even as you're saying that, what comes to mind for me right away is confidence comes from failure, but it also comes from getting up and picking yourself back up and really grinding it out, not quitting. And I really think that people look at confidence and you're like, oh, damn, you were born with confidence. But no, there was a secret recipe in your life that created that confidence. So that confidence was you failed forward, but you continued to keep pushing forward. You never stopped. You continue to invest in yourself. And it's not just about the failure, but how are you changing that failure by saying, okay, I failed here. This is the things that happen.
Right.
How do I rework that? How do I grow and learn from that? And I think that's that missing piece that a lot of people are, we live in such a world today where it's like everybody gets a trophy. We didn't come from an era where everybody got a trophy. We came from an era where you got a trophy because you worked your ass off for it. And that's just the nitty-gritty of it. And I think right now there's a mental looseness going on. And that mental looseness is, a lot of people don't have that confidence or that courage that came overnight. No, that didn't come overnight. That came from working through your failures, getting back up, trying to perfect something in your life. And I'm not saying for you to be perfect, but you tried to perfect something that you failed at and you continue to rework it until it worked for you and worked in your advantage. But I think discipline also, I have to say, just knowing you and knowing your routine, you have a lot of discipline, and discipline has been my best friend. Having a routine, having those systems in place, and that's what's been able to get me to accomplishments. And because of those accomplishments, all that is a check that, yes, I did that. And that created the confidence, right? So an accumulation of check marks of accomplishments created that confidence.
Well, knowing you as well, it's getting things done. And I think putting things out there, just like we've talked about many times, saying it, writing it down. And, if I say something and I tell you I'm doing it, I'm damn sure doing it. I'm not going to let me down, and I'm not going to let you down. And just consistently hitting those things, doing those things, and seeing those things moving forward, that helps, I think, me stay confident in what I'm doing.
Well, I think also when we talk about staying soft and staying strong, in this situation, just getting this whole podcast together, running a business, because you're still running a law firm, I'm still running a business, we still have clients independently, and then we're getting this whole production going on, working side by side with the team and everything, and being in those meetings. In a sense, we have to be aggressive about what we want and what our goals are. And I think you and I are both not afraid to be aggressive in that manner when it comes to going for our goals and going all at it. But also, when you think about it, we still have that soft, like feminine energy too, which is like we're excited to tell this story and we're excited to bring other women on board with us because this podcast isn't just you and I.
No.
We're looking to bring other women a part of this, and we want to share their voice and also share their experience as well. And this is what you and I had craved. Every woman that we had talked about or talked with is craving this as well. So, you know, that's that aggressive energy, but it also is about accomplishing, right? And that's that confidence. Like, we feel confident today because we were able to build a brand so quickly. We were able to mobilize all this stuff together so quickly. And in and of that self, there was an aggressive action towards that. You know, are we penalized for having some aggressive energy towards something?
Well, I think certainly people try to look down on that, but I think it's coming from a place where they can't deal or they can't produce or they're not at the same level.
You know what, to me, what it reminds me of is there's days where I get up and I have a whole lineup of meetings back to back to back, like not even a lunch break is in there. And sometimes I feel like, do I want to do that? Like, I don't want to do a meeting right now. But not only do I have to do the meeting, but I also have to bring the energy and the excitement and the strategy and everything else that comes along with that meeting. And I have to show up at 110%, you know? And there's no other way around that. And I can't just say, well, I can't do that meeting, you know? Or I don't want to do that right now, you know? And so there is a sense of discipline when it comes to doing the things that we want to do. So I think that's what the difference is there was a saying that I heard one time that said, you and I are successful, but the only difference is why you see my success is because I did the little actions that other people didn't do while you were sleeping. You know, and it's like, how many times have we been on the phone at 12 o'clock midnight? You're like, okay, how about this? And how about this? And juggling all these different things. The other day, my daughter asked, like, gosh, you know, you seem a little busy or distracted. I'm like,
girl, you don't even know.
I'm like, you're on the board of the nonprofit. Yes. How many meetings are we doing? We're running events. We're doing things, bringing people in. We're making decisions for a nonprofit, you know. But on top of that, we're making decisions for a podcast. And then on top of that, we're making decisions for our own independent businesses. And then on top of that, we're building Club Conduit.
I don't think our plate's full enough. What do you think?
And on top of that, I'm sorry, we forgot the biggest, most important thing. We also have children at home that we're raising. We're raising other human beings. So other people might say, oh, well, I don't want to do that. And I agree with them. No, it's not for everybody. But what we're trying to accomplish, that isn't something that we're willing to waver. We want to make an impact, you know? And sometimes that impact is at home, and sometimes that impact is out in the world.
Well,
Look, I mean, I don't have any problem going on vacation, taking time off from my kids. I don't. I learned to do that.
She was like in the Bahamas, like sending us photos on the beach. I was like, oh, this girl.
When I first was getting divorced, I really had to get to know myself again, kind of going back to what you were asking, Dylan, which was I need to not have lost myself in work and family, parenting. And when I started, doing stuff for myself, that's when I really got back to who I was, what I loved.
Yeah.
I started my politics. More advocation, like all of that.
Yeah.
And so I know that is really important. And obviously we want all you baddies to know it is so important for you to take your alone time. So I am the first person to sign up for a trip. I love.
You are. You're like, let's go to Paris, guys.
No, somebody will invite me. They'll be
trip.
like our friends who went to London. They're like, well, we don't have anybody else going. If you guys want to go, and
We're
I'm like,
yes.
don't tempt me because I really will. I'm that person.
Yeah.
And I love planning and hosting, and so it's just right up my alley. But no, it is really important that we take that time for ourselves, that we reset, that we do the things, and whatever that is for you, any woman out there that does it for them,
But I think also too, going back to Club Conduit, that's why it's so important, because like even who you are, I've seen you in family setting and in also girl time setting. And it's like there's two different people there, even though you're the same person, but there's more relaxation. Whereas when you're in mom mode, not you specifically, but anybody is in mom mode, they're like, okay, what's going on? What are you doing? Okay, did you do this? Did you do that? And so it's just like the checklist all day long, And I see you in those other settings, and it's like there's just relaxation and fun, and you're like, yes, let's do it, guys.
And the whole reason that you can do that with your children and do all of that is because you're taking that time to be in that relaxed mode, to just chill.
Yeah. No, it is important. And finding yourself, like what you were saying, I think there's also a reset time for you, like especially going into a relationship. I feel like the longer you're in a relationship, you get to a point where you're like, why do I not look the same anymore? Like, why do I not feel the same anymore? And I'm doing things that I don't really like doing anymore, And so you have to like take a step back and say, okay, am I still having time to be me, to be who I am, And that's important.
Yes, and just like what we've been saying with all of these things that we're doing is being open to whatever is out there and really, really, truly taking in what is out in the universe for you that is your passion and just going for it and taking that risk and being okay with it.
Yeah. No, really. And then I also think like motherhood has different, how do you say it? Like,
phases.
There we go. Because right now I'm dealing with teenagers. I'm dealing with hormones. I'm dealing with all this stuff. So like, even within that, it's like, oh my gosh, these effing kids, like I am going to lose my sanity. Have you ever felt like there's a point where you're going to lose your real sanity? Like you're going to like literally lose your sanity. Not lose your shit, lose your sanity altogether.
Yes. I mean, I've told the girls, like, do not talk to me. Just walk away. Walk away. I don't want to see your face. Just go away.
I don't even want to hear you breathing right now.
No, exactly. Like the scent of you, the look of you, like, leave me alone.
And how do they respond?
Oh, scared. Go away.
Okay.
Go away.
Have you ever seen these situations where like maybe there's like a group of women and then you see this crazy crying, screaming kid in the like a mall or a grocery store or whatever. And then there's people that are just judging like, oh my God, that mother. Oh.
Can she not shut her kid up?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm just like, but I've had a child with a screaming kid and I'm like, I'm that person too, like I have had that situation before, like way in the past, but and then even like teenagerhood, I feel like teenagerhood for everybody is so different. Like you could do all the right things. Like my two older kids, I don't feel like I kind of feel like, God, like I could have 10 more kids at teenagers because of them, But then I have one teenager specifically right now where I'm like, kill me, please. Like, I'm not going to survive this phase. Like, and it's like really hard. And I'm just like, what did I do wrong? Why am I a bad mom? And I'm just like, it makes me think like I'm a bad mom. I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm not doing this right, and it's just like, luckily for me, I have something to gauge it against, which is like, no, I have very successful older children. Like I did something right. So, okay. Do women judge other women harsher, do you think? What do you think about that?
I think yes, and especially in the past. But I do think that that's changing more now.
Changing how so?
I think it's changing a little for the better. Because I think now that we're seeing more women in business, more women running things, just like we were talking about that new show, the All's Fair
Oh,
show. You
yes.
know, I mean, and the fact that we are championing women, and most of the women that we're talking to are championing other women, I think that it's becoming less of a looking down or making judgment, and more of a, ooh, I like that, or I like that she did that, or I like that she said that, or, you know, I could get behind that. And that's exciting, I think, as a woman.
I think every human being has their own cards to play with, you know, and I think once you understand what those cards that you've been dealt are, how do you play that hand? So is it a disadvantage? Should you feel guilty? You know, and a lot of people would even take this episode as, oh my gosh, look at Amber and Jacqueline. They're so cocky, you know? And I don't think it's a real conversation. And it's about being aware of the real conversation, right? So the conversation isn't about, oh God, Amber's so pretty. It's about, what do you do with that? And how do you even have those conversations? Let alone, how does a person that does have that advantage, how have they been disadvantaged? And also losing opportunities because of that. You know?
True. And we both have daughters. So I have 2 daughters. And so how is it, Jacqueline, that you had any of these types of conversations with your daughters about how they might deal with their looks going into business, into life, into anything?
Gosh, I think that's so scary, right? Because when you and I were kids and we were growing up, beauty wasn't a magazine, you know, and it wasn't like how it is today. You have social media that is strongly influencing our young people, even people our age. It's influencing them, right? And now you see beauty in a whole different aspect, a whole different way. So how do you take all of that and then make your own judgment on that? And what does that look like? So when I talk to my daughters, it's hard because I'm saying education, I'm saying work on yourself, be aware of who you are. But society is saying, you're going to become a TikTok influencer. You're going to make millions on your body and how you look and how in shape you are and, you know, the beauty that you are. When I think of today, you have these TikTok reels and all this social media that's get ready with me, you know?
Yes.
And so even I'm addicted to it because I've learned how to do certain facial stuff and how to apply makeup, you know? So those are great, but also that's what society is seen as beauty too. So, well, the one thing that I always reflect on, because this happened in 2001. So this is 2001. I'm 19 years old. And at that time, I remember back in I think it was 1994, I remember being a teenager and watching this whole court case and the verdict of O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. And I just remember thinking like that. And they really tried to portray her as like, oh, she was kind of like not asking for it, but she wasn't living a saintly life.
Right.
You know? And I just remember thinking, well, how is a victim supposed to be? You know, like, are they supposed to be a saint? You know, and what is that response supposed to look like, you know? And so it was a interesting time, but it was like I had that awareness also. And thankfully, I know this is so random, but like Denise Brown, her sister, went and toured the country and she talked about advocating for victims and stalkers and abusive relationships. And so there was that minimal knowledge about it, you know, but it wasn't like mainstream and it wasn't like something that everybody talked about. Like, you got to be aware of this, guys. And
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
And then you had that. I mean, it's always been a thing, but the victim shaming, like what you alluded to earlier about what was going on in that case, but that's always a thing. And that's why women don't want to necessarily come forward or seek out any help or protection because they know that they're going to be victimized again just for being a victim for nothing they did, you know, on their own. And that's horrible.
No, it really is. And I think, you know, really when you think about that situation, I look back at my 19-year-old self and I say, God, that was like a horrible time for you. But I also look back at that 19-year-old girl that said, you know, in that position, I was kind of like had the the option and or the luxury, I would say, to stay at home with my 2 kids, you know, and that relationship was able to support me while I stayed home. But I'd have to say, after that relationship and that experience, it really turned me into like where I got to be today, you know, which is, I've always had ambition.
Right.
I've always had like a drive, you know, but it kicked it into like high gear. And I would say even at one point, even to hyper high gear, independence, high gear, you know, where it's like, I'm never going to let anybody support me ever again. I'm never going to be on the whim of someone paying for my housing, paying for food, paying for nothing, you know, and that relationship changed me from that point on.
So, because that was the dynamic that you had with this gentleman.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, and then we were even talking about it in like 2 episodes ago, where it was like, where do you relinquish like that control or that power, you know, when you've been so independent so long? And it's like, for me, I would say independence, I don't feel like was really a choice. It wasn't an option. It was more of like, this is how I was surviving at that time, you know, in 19, 20, 21. So, and even, you know, made me go into like becoming a traffic officer and choosing that position and that career.
Wow.
Because I wanted to be surrounded with police, and that was going to be the friends that I had and, you know, carried. So I needed to feel protected in that sense, not so much like from a new relationship, but like the people that I held company with.
I can't believe that happened to you. That is crazy. And so did that evolve into a court case? Was he tried,
Yes!
convicted,
Oh my gosh.
and all of these things?
Well, even before that had happened, okay, so yeah. So before that had happened, actually, it was starting to escalate a little bit. Before I got into the relationship with the new relationship, he had shown up at my house, broke into the house because he obviously knew how to get in, right?
Yes.
And so the neighbors were like, hey, I think somebody's in your house. And they were on like super high alert, knew what my situation was. I was a single mom, and I told them what happened in my relationship. So they were always very conscious. Well, hilarious. I moved next door to my parents. So so I live next door to my parents.
There's nobody that's going to be looking out for you more than your parents.
But also my other neighbor was somebody that I grew up with my whole entire life. Yeah. So, you know, they were the ones that had called me and said, I think somebody's in your house. And I was like, okay, don't go over there. I'm going to just send the police. Right. The police went in, and he was in my closet with a knife. I mean, I don't know if he planned on using that on me, but he had it with him, you know, so in my closet, in my room. So it was like, it was a really scary time. And I also see how I would throw myself into work, you know, and I would take on more hours than I needed to, because it wasn't the financial stability more. It was more of like, I just wanted to have that distraction, you know?
I mean, I can definitely see why you would want to do that. And I mean, I guess, you know, this is such an important topic, and obviously we always want to be able to provide resources and advice to our, you know, viewers on this.
I was going to get groceries at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night at Walmart. I should not have to feel, so then
unsafe.
It's like, so at that point it started.
Going to your local grocery store.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Right. And, you know, so it's like at that point, it turned into like, no one is ever going to make me feel that way again. And I deserve to be able to go get groceries if I need to get groceries without having to worry about getting abducted or getting harassed at the store.
Yeah.
And so shortly after that, I started training MMA, and I started working with somebody one-on-one and was paying them to teach me. And then eventually
You actually called a friend of yours, right?
I did. Yeah, I called, and his name is Rocco. So Rocco's the one who kind of was like, hey, I've been learning MMA. He started working with me a little bit, and then was kind of like, all right, you need to work with my coach. And so I started paying for private lessons. And then eventually that coach was like, hey, you probably should come to the gym. We've got some girls your size, sparring days on Saturday. You can kind of see how you compare to, you know, someone else.
Yeah.
And the competitive side of me, you know, I should have known that I was going to fall in love, right? So I show up to practice, and we're sparring, and it was hard.
I'm sure.
And these girls were
Oh my
good.
gosh.
You know, these girls were very good. They were better than me technically.
And let's just go back. So were you an athletic girl? Had you done anything like this before?
I'd played, well, nothing like that, right? I never did like
No physical
wrestling.
contact, nothing.
I did basketball, which for me was pretty physical because I was physical.
Yes.
I think I broke the record for fouling out the majority of the games.
She's like an elbow here, a trip there.
I was super competitive. And so, yeah, I played basketball all throughout high school, played basketball in college, ran track, but I got my base from gymnastics.
Gotcha.
So I was a gymnast from like probably 3 years old all the way up until about 16. And so I think that gymnastics has like sincerely set me up for a lot of like it's like been the foundation that is there's been a lot of application and just body awareness and all of that stuff. So it wasn't my first sport, but it was definitely my first like martial art.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, you know, what you really took a liking to was it wasn't just about having confidence in yourself, but having capability, and you really armed yourself with that capability to what you said a moment ago, never be in that position again to where somebody can attack you or do anything like that to you. And I kind of want to even dial it back to the point where this ex-boyfriend of yours, he cheated on you, number one, and then attacks you, like, because insult to injury just wasn't enough. Like,
I mean, it's crazy looking back to think that I allowed that, because I'm a firm believer of like,
how old were you, first of all?
Then that's the thing, is like, because I do believe like what you're not changing, you're choosing, right? But I was a very different person back then. I think I was still discovering my identity, becoming me, and I think at the time I was like 19. So
your front cortex was not even developed.
No, it wasn't.
Decision making was.
It wasn't. And my parents, in all fairness, they did try to warn me, but it was almost like that made me want to make it work that much more, to like spite them or like to prove them wrong.
Yes.
And I have great parents and I love and adore them, but you know, that's that age where it's like,
ask your teen while they still know everything.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. And it was like part of me just wanted to prove that like I could do adult things on my own.
Yeah, you're a big girl now.
Yeah, it backfired a little bit, but yeah, no, he was not the nicest to me. He would remind me that I was the biggest girl he ever dated.
Oh my God.
He would take food off my plate in public and say that I didn't need to eat that. Yeah.
Was he short too?
No, he was 6'4",
God.
probably 200, 220 pounds.
You know what that means, right?
Here we go. We just got the buzzer from our producer.
No.
Okay, Guylan, what did we say that triggered you?
I will pay to see you kick his ass in the ring.
Yes. So originally, Guylan, that's what I thought she was going to say.
Yes.
I had a boyfriend that did the ex-boyfriend that cheated on me. And so I was like, oh, yeah, she took up MMA because she's going to go kick his ass. And I was like,
Listen, we
no.
can do a reality TV show for that segment.
Well, I think what you're touching upon and getting to is that this is about communication. And so going back to our producer's question, the roles, you know, I think that is for each couple to decide on their own, and whatever they decide is fine, but having that
if
prior
you like washing the dishes,
communication, exactly. You know, some people split it up exactly like 50-50. We're going to, share the roles. I mean, personally, like I enjoy cooking. I enjoy taking on that role and putting a meal on the table for my family. It's something I enjoy do, and it's part of my like downtime.
Yeah.
It's like, it is for me. But
it's relaxing.
It is.
And you know what? That used to be the same for me. But then when I came into my white flamingo feathers, it became something that was just like I was burning every food that I was making, or it was coming out nasty. And my kids are like, what is happening? But thankfully, Jake is like an amazing cook. Like he cooks like really good food. And I was like, and he stepped in, but it was in that moment of that time. It was like for about a year. I was just like, I like cooking. F you. I'm done with this,
And that's okay. And then your partner took that up and got you through that.
Which was amazing because I feel like it goes back to what we're talking about is support, And support doesn't always look the same way in every area. Like that was a part of support that I needed at that moment. And he was able to take that on. But there's other areas of support that maybe he can't take on. Where do I find that support, And so like when I think about familiarity with my kids, sometimes they want to hear from like a relative versus me or versus Jake, you know? And so I have to outsource that support, but it's there and it's available for me, you know?
Yes.
And so like that is something that I personally learned to lean on and relinquish as well, you know?
Yes. And that kind of brings up one thing, you know, how you dealt with it after the fact. Did you seek any counseling?
No.
None. Do you wish you would have?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I wish I would have. I went to counseling probably about, probably about 2017, and I did about 3 to 4 years of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the therapy, I realized, like, you know, it's so interesting because how did I get into this relationship? I was raised by my dad. I was raised by men that supported women and championed them and provided resources for them to be successful. Like that's what I was used to growing up with. But in the therapy, my therapy, they had revealed like, well, what was your mom's relationship like? Your relationship with your mom, like your real mom, or your birth mom. And I had talked about stories where I had seen such violence happen to my mom, you know, and it was just like where I had to throw my little 7-year-old body in front of her so that she's not getting beat up, you know? And so it's just like the therapist said something that was very like, whoa, eye-opening, was like, when it comes to that, because that was in your home, when you would go visit your mom, even though you didn't live in that environment, you did to some extent become desensitized to it. And I was like, and it's also something that became normalized for you. Yeah. So I was like, wow. So even though you're saying like my dad, like the men in my life are not like this, I don't understand what's happening, but you did see it and you were in it before. So I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Wow, that is.
I'm like, because I wasn't even there that often.
Yeah, but that gave you insight as to why.
Yeah. So the 3 years of therapy did help. And from that, I mean, the decisions that I made romantically changed dramatically. And so therefore, I'm like, gosh, if I would have done the therapy right after. But I think also too, back in those days, therapy wasn't really, like therapy was so taboo. Like who goes to therapy? Talk about your problems.
Something's wrong with you if you're going to therapy.
Mentally, you're cuckoo if you go to therapy, you know? Now I'm like, let's go to therapy, guys. That's like my answer to everything.
That's hilarious.
Therapy.
Let's do it.
We got to get a therapist on the show.
I was going to say that too. I know. Oh,
yes.
No.
I'm not a therapist, but I did sleep at. I'm not a therapist, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. So. The commercial. I'm not this,
random.
but I did. I did sleep at a Holiday Inn last night.
Holiday Inn does not sponsor, so we're not talking about that.
No, we're not talking about that. No.
But if you want to, what about the fact that dads are always taking breaks?
Hey, we don't talk about dads on
Tea
this
time.
show.
Happy hour.
I do have to say this, and maybe what's your experience with this? Because being a working mom, sometimes I'm out working hours, you know, and then when I come home, what do you feel like is more stressful or draining or exhausting? Working at home, like with the family, or working on work? Because it's two different like mental capacities, I feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I see it in different time frames, different ways.
Yeah.
So
well, in the bad time frames then, how's that?
I would say that home was more stressful. You know, because it was because at that time I was like going at it with different roles, so many different roles between being a political candidate, a political figure, and a law practice during the day, and then having to be the only sole provider at night. So it was just a lot, and that was a very difficult, stressful time.
Have you ever exploded on your kids or
Yes.
your spouse?
Yes, I have.
And is that taken as, oh my God, here she goes again? Or, okay.
I mean,
how was it perceived?
I think that they get it, but it still hurts. It still stings, and you're still not happy about it. You know, you feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, but you can get to that point, and not all of it was their fault. Part of it was my own fault for not dealing with it, not taking the time off, not saying no. honestly, like I used to have a problem saying no to things, and that was my own issue. So not doing that, and then just everything just piling and piling and piling, and then, you know, one little blow up, one little thing, and then there you are going off, and that doesn't feel good. Does not feel good, you know?
Do you ever apologize to your kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. I will tell them, and they know the same thing because they do it too to us, you know. They will be having a bad day, same thing, you know, it's a very similar thing, having a bad day at school or something happened and they haven't told us about it. We don't really know, but you can kind of tell something's off. And then, you know, I ask them to do something, you know, go take out the trash or do this, do that. And then it's like, you know, they go off.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is happening, you know? And so I try to let them have a moment unless it's something egregious.
Yeah.
But they will come back and say, I'm sorry, you know, hug me and say, I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to do that. You know, this and that happened. And we have that back and forth relationship of an apology. And I don't feel like just because we're parents, we're screwing up. I'm screwing up all the time too. I'm screwing up all the time. And still.
We are not perfect, guys.
So
not perfect at all.
I'm not of the opinion, as some people are, that they will never apologize to their children.
Ooh. I can't even imagine what that does to children.
Yes, I have heard people say this. But I am not of that opinion. I believe that we are actually doing them a disservice by doing that. Instead, we should teach them to apologize for wrong behavior.
I feel like we are the example setters. So if you can't apologize, how do you expect your kid to apologize to their sibling when they've done something wrong to them?
Exactly. When you know it's wrong, you absolutely know you screwed up. How are you not going to say something about that? And then teach them that this was how I should have dealt with it.
Yeah. I think an apology like speaks volumes to your kids about being a good human, you know, and then also like owning your wrong and being able to admit, because I think as adults have a hard time admitting when they're wrong. And I really do believe that starts back when they were younger and they've never been apologized and they knew they were wronged, but nobody apologized to them, you know? Parents are not perfect, so let's not all be on that pedestal.
No, we're all faking it till we make it.
We are, yes, yes. Skyland. It also brings me to being a single mom. I think single moms are also seen very heavily as bitches.
Oh, yeah.
You know, especially by the ex-husband or by people that are trying to take advantage of you being a single mom, you know, and it's like, there are certain decisions like what you just said about your mom. Your mom, even though having somebody in the home was like having nobody in the home, and probably even worse because you can't make those decisions because you still have this individual there that is a part of the family structure and decision making.
Right.
And I definitely see that so many times with women that are single moms. That's a story that's close to my heart because I was a single mom for a big part of my kids' lives.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and that does change you as a person, like changes your very DNA in a sense, because you have to be decision maker. You have to run other people's lives and making sure that how you're living your life is also going to benefit them.
Yeah, you have to be every single thing all the time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to carry, you know? I mean, to me, the single moms are like superpowers. Like they should be the the goddess, the queen, the all, end all be all, because they're doing it all in real life, in real time, without help most of the time. And it's not easy, you know? I mean, I was lucky enough to be in a position where I wasn't like my mom, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are, and that's hard.
No, it really is. Especially, you know, you look at so many women that have amazing talent, amazing aspirations, but a lot of the times they don't have equal financial help, you know, on the other end with the other parent too, you know, and that's like a big, big deal. And it's so interesting. Me and my honey were talking about it, and I was like, I just have this huge stigma or just thing against people that, with the financial support with kids, because that is setting your children up for success, and not being able to have that can turn a woman bitchy.
Yes, it can. And it should, like you said, it's in all seriousness, it should. It's not fair to the child or the mom.
Yeah.
And that's like my point in saying, like, the mom has such the unfair advantage most of the time. And I don't want to detract from any men who are taking care of their children and they're the primary caregivers and anything like that. If you're being the mom and dad, then kudos to you too. But and as we know, in many situations, that's not the case.
Yeah, because not being biased in that way, because I was raised by a single dad. So
True.
I definitely know that end of the spectrum as well. I lived through it. So, but again, the financial support wasn't there even for my father. And what's the conversation to that? Should the woman pay child support to a man?
Yes, if they're not raising the child, I think.
Yes, right? Well, the answer is yes. But then on that end, being raised by a single dad, he was the sole provider. So what does that mean for the child,
Yeah.
So, and I think that's also on the flip side, when a woman is a single mom and she's having to be the sole provider, the income is necessary. Now, let me ask you this. What is a time that you can think of that you were the problem in a situation, whether it was work or a relationship?
Okay, so you're really not going to believe me on this because this is like just a crazy situation that happened. So I had, when I was working in the district attorney's office as a baby lawyer, barely starting, I had a female first chair. I was the second chair, so we worked together. We had, gosh, this is so crazy. This is going to be Wild West stuff. This is
Oh my, yes.
Die to hear this. We had some cases in family court. And we were talking to the judge there. And we asked him if we could speak with him behind chambers because we wanted to talk to him about an issue that had arose where we felt like we had case law that showed that he wasn't acting appropriately. And obviously that was a sensitive subject.
Yes.
And his whole tone with us was like, basically, why are you bringing this up? Why are you the problem? Like,
yes.
I know what I'm doing. You little girls don't know what's going on. And we sat down at his desk, 2 chairs in front of him, and we're talking to him calmly about the case
judge.
law to the judge.
Oh gosh. And you're calling him out on something.
Calling him out on something.
Okay.
And he opens the drawer to his desk, pulls out a handgun, and sits it on the desk.
No, Wild Wild West for real right now.
This can only happen in deep South Texas. But
dare we ask the county?
Can you no? Can you imagine like what we were making him feel like at that point that he thought to actually brandish a weapon to like stop us from being the problem for him?
Yes.
It was crazy. We were just blown away. Couldn't believe that had even happened.
Did you feel scared in that moment?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
We did. How could you not? Like, that's just something you can't even dream of happening.
And then he's a judge. Do you think he would have got away with it?
And he's a judge, yeah. Well, and so, yeah, that was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is insane. Like, when you're smart, when you hold that power, when you're actually, speaking to somebody with intelligence, you're bringing up good points, but nobody had done that to him in a long time. That was obvious. That he had to take that tone. That was that big of a problem.
That threat.
I was that big of a problem that we were. That was insane.
That's pretty wild. Wild, Wild West for sure.
Thank God that's the only time that's ever happened.
Okay, so how did it resolve then?
Well, we finished our piece, and he told us to get out of his office, and he made his ruling, and it was against us.
Oh, okay. Ouch. Did you guys do a, oh gosh, what's that called? Where you go back and you fight or challenge that judgment?
We didn't.
What
It
is
wasn't
called?
anything that we could appeal.
Oh, appeal.
Yeah,
yes.
it wasn't something that we could appeal, so we had to just take it from there, But it really gave us insight as to what can happen in that type of situation, and just the power that we do yield,